Haydn Townsend from the Trinergy agency, a very warm welcome to the Red Zone. Thank you so much for joining us. You say this, agencies are preoccupying themselves with the wrong questions. That, sir, is a big, bold and sweeping statement. What are you trying to say?
I will continue to be even more blasphemous from here. You know, I think the questions being asked everywhere. Is TV dead? Is it social media? Is it on the ground? And I think we're probably occupying ourselves with the wrong questions. Or these are rather probably symptoms of a deeper, and if I can say cancer, that may seem a bit severe. But the reality is that I think we've lost the high ground on creativity. And when I thought about this initially, I thought, geez, a statement like that is going to be considered to be rather blasphemous in our industry. But there's a wonderful article in Forbes magazine that actually posed the same question and went on to state about, say, 10 years ago, you went to Cannes, or Cannes, depending how you pronounce it, and there wasn't a client in sight. Today, more than 25% of clients are present, or 25% of the attendees are clients running seminars, running master classes. And to the extent that you're finding creative directors moving into businesses like Target, I think Coke's done it, there are many of these places. But not only that, if you look at businesses like Google or Zappos or Zingo, all the high growth companies, you're finding creativity is coming forth not only in what they do, but even the way they look. You know.
So how have ad agencies found themselves in this parlous position? Whose fault is it? It's their own fault, isn't it?
I think so. I think that it's one of those where, you know, if you're standing still, you're moving backwards. So it's the road has been coming, and we've been caught in that space where we've been preoccupying ourselves with the wrong questions and where to go and how, and everyone's grappling what's the next big agency model. And I think we've become way too introspective, and if anything, agencies, instead of been looking outwards, we've been looking inside. And we've actually been protecting ourselves from the world at large. So
but in reality, they're looking inwardly because they have a bottom line to protect. They're businesses that have to run. They have a payroll to meet.
Sure. And
it's very difficult to think creatively these days and take those kind of risks that you're suggesting when you have staff to pay.
Sure.
How do you find the balance? How do you break the cycle?
I guess the question is, you know, what comes first, you know, and does creativity drive results? And we've always believed that we're an industry that's based on that. It's the notion of breaking through that's going to make better brands, which will drive better return at the end of the day. I just think that our pool of creatives are so finite. I think if we start looking at, I think the entire South African industry is probably like 5,000 people. An agency like MoFilm in the US have 50,000 creatives on their books. And they're starting to think open source. They're starting to look beyond their pool of creativity. Now, they've just won the PlayStation 4 account based on this. There are other agencies, Victors and Spoils. In South Africa, I think we have Idea Bounty. We have a few guys who are grappling and playing with this. But the logic is based on, if we go right back to Alex Osborne, the O in BBDO, who came up with this wonderful notion that said, surely a few people sitting together will come up with a better idea than somebody sitting on their own. And the antique for today is brainstorming. It was created in an agency in the 1930s. So everybody brainstorms today. What they forget is that the thinking was actually called large-scale ideation. The fact that you could only get 5 or 6 people didn't mean that that's when it worked best. But the tools didn't exist. For 7, 8 decades, you couldn't do large-scale ideation. And today we can. So the argument here is that agencies need to start looking beyond their boundaries for creativity. I think the art director and copywriter model has outlived its usefulness. And I think those creative minds still need to be applied, but not necessarily in those disciplines.
Does the pressure come internally to change, or is it an external quotient in many ways? Does the marketing director, does the brand manager need to put pressure on the agency to change that model that you're referring to, that you're recommending?
I think the challenge is, you know, our current remuneration models and the way we construct fees at the moment, it's quite finite. So if I give you 100 Rand for creatives, I need to see 10 people for my 100 Rand. So going to a client and saying, you know what?
So many billable hours.
So many billable hours, the 40-hour week, etc. So you go in, that's how it needs to look. And you say, well, I actually am only going to use 60 of that 100 Rand for people you're going to see, and I need 40 in a pool where I'm going to access creatives from around the world and in different disciplines. They look at you and go, are you nuts? I need to see the people we're going. To be fair, I've had 1 or 2 clients who have embraced it. But it's going to be a long-term shift, and it's probably going to come down to a trust issue. And once you start showing the quality of works better than what you had by looking to your 10 creatives in the agency, will they start trusting? So I think a few agencies are going to have to take a few risks, probably invest a bit ahead of the curve, you know, take that salary ratio a little ahead of 55 maybe, and try and test the model.
All right, final question then. That's the agency side, but do you believe that clients are ready for this?
I do. I mean, some clients, I think it's going to be a journey. Or, you know, you need somebody who's open to you bringing in different people into the room. So you come and say, yeah, today we're presenting this campaign, and here's Jack, the fashion designer, who's going to work and talk us through this concept, who doesn't work for you, they've never met before. But the trust will sit with the creative director. So the agency moves from being writer to editor, and the client will then have to trust that entity, that we've got the brand at heart and we still understand its output.
Haydn Townsend, don't lose the idealism. It's absolutely critical. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.